Our brains are made mostly of fat, so why not nourish them with the highest quality omega-3s available? Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health. Omega-3 Rejuvenate is a premium blend of pure oils from wild-caught Alaskan cod and sockeye salmon, sourced from the pristine waters of Alaska. This is not the story of other brands. The fact is, most of the world's fish oil products are produced from several types of species packed into nets in commercial fishing zones, loaded into the holds of vessels that stay out for days or even weeks, and put in processing plants that treat them with high heat, chemicals, and synthetic nutrients. Big Bold Health does it differently. All of it straight from the sea into the hands of skilled fishermen, instantly flash frozen and taken to their specially designed shoreside plant using a low-heat technique to extract the pure amber omega oil that contains all natural and abundant full-spectrum omega-3s, including EPA, DHA, as well as DPA, plus all natural vitamins A and D, and naturally occurring pro-resolving mediators to support cardiovascular, cognitive, and immune health. Their unique low-temperature extraction preserves the natural goodness of the fish, so you get maximum benefits in every soft gel. No fillers, no shortcuts, just pure, potent wellness. Visit bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and experience the difference. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman for Omega-3 Rejuvenate. Use coupon code Hoffman20 for 20% off site-wide. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and we're talking about how to optimize brain function with a focus on women in midlife. The book is Sharp, 14 Simple Ways to Improve Your Life with Brain Science. The author is our guest, Dr. Therese Houston. She is a cognitive neuroscientist. She is on the faculty at Seattle University, and she is also written for the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Guardian, Harvard Business Review, and she's a great communicator. And she breaks down complex science because I know that, she could dazzle us with her understanding of brain neuroanatomy and, all the neurotransmitter pathways in the brain. But her mission is to break this down into practical suggestions for how to get people to function better. So continuing from part one, we talked about some strategies to rev the brain. One of the more interesting strategies, and I'd never heard about this, is something called binaural beats. That is really interesting. What's that about?
So this is one of my new go-tos. I don't use them, certainly not every day, but I use them at least a couple times a month. So binaurals, to oral, referring to your ears or sounds. So binaural, so you've got your two ears or your two sounds. And the idea here is that on a day when you're sitting at your computer or you're on your phone perhaps, and you need to focus and you're having trouble getting focused, this is a tool that you now have in your toolbox. So the idea is you're going to need headphones, right? And we both have our headsets on at the moment. So you can use your AirPods, right? They don't have to cover your ears. But the idea is you're going to put in your headphones or your AirPods, and you're going to get onto YouTube and you're going to search for 40 Hertz HZ binaural beats. And the 40 part is important because what you're looking for is these sounds are going to be at a particular frequency, and you can find binaural beats at much lower frequencies, 10 frequencies, 10 hertz, 12 hertz, and those are going to actually make you sleepy and calm.
Oh, okay.
But 40 hertz is going to give you peak concentration, because basically what's going to happen is you're going to hear two different sounds in your ear, but your brain is going to do the math, and it's going to just sound like one sound. It's going to sound. It's not going to sound like a cacophony.
Just like if you're nearsighted and farsighted, and your eyes accommodate, you get
exactly.
Yeah, you get an
image.
You
have one experience. Even though if you were to separate it, you would have two different experiences in each eye. But your brain does the work, and you're going to only hear one sound, so it's not unpleasant. And what will happen is they're still trying to understand the science of this, but basically 40 hertz is an optimal frequency in your brain for focus. And it's often referred to as an alpha frequency. And whereas if basically the brain waves are oscillating at 40 hertz, you're going to be very focused. If they're only oscillating at about 4 hertz, you're going to be falling asleep, right? So you can imagine that kind of the higher they get, the more focused you are. And what's beautiful about this process of listening to, and it's going to sound like a tone, like I'll just imitate it. It'll just sound like, So you turn it to a volume where you can hear it, but it's not distracting, and you start doing your work. And what's beautiful about this is that if you're having one of those days where you're just like checking Amazon and you're, or you keep toggling back and forth between different websites, but you need to work at your computer, you pop on your headphones, you put on 40 hertz binaural beats, and within minutes, you will be so focused, you will not hear the sounds anymore. They would just kind of disappear into the background.
I gotta try that.
It is really powerful. It's one of the things that I receive more emails about than anything else, because people will read about it in the book and they'll think, well, I was going to give it a shot.
Therese, this is not to be done while you work. This is done as a kind of a warm-up.
You can do it while you work, or you could do it as a warm-up. But I often do it as I work, right? Because it's not, it's in the background.
Interesting.
And so I will do this on days. In fact, for a while when I was writing the book, I had the rule for myself, if I'm at my computer for more than 15 minutes and I haven't started working, I have to listen to binaural beats, because it will zip up your focus. I mean, that's just the right way to describe it. It's like a zipper. And all of a sudden you will be focusing better than you have. My editor uses it. Now, so many people have found this a powerful tool to get yourself focusing. So the only caveat, the first time you do it, I would set a timer maybe on your phone to go off after about 20 minutes, because what can happen for some people, not everyone, but for some people, the very first time they do it, if they go for more than 30 minutes, they'll begin to feel a little bit of a headache or queasiness. It'll go away as soon as you turn it off. But for me, I set a timer. And usually when that timer goes off at 20 minutes, I am so deep into my work, I will have forgotten that I've gone into the binaural beats mode, and I just turn it off and then it's fine. But it is a powerful technique, and I, experiment with it, Ron, see what you think, but it works.
That's really quite novel. That's interesting. So let's talk about the role of exercise, because I think the single most important and most accessible tool for optimizing brain function that's been shown to increase BDNF, which is kind of like miracle grow for your neurons and your brain pathways. Exercise, I think, is really important. And so, I think that's a foundation for healthy brain function. One of the reasons I exercise, exercise for cardiovascular, blah, 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 longevity, look good naked, fit into my clothes.
All those things, sure.
Enable me to eat more than I probably should so that I can burn up the, all that stuff.
Right.
But brain function is cardinal in my considerations for why, I push myself to exercise even when I do it.
It's so powerful. And it's one of the things, you've probably talked about this before, things that are good for your heart are generally good for your brain. So, exercise, especially aerobic exercise, which is good for your heart, is also good for your brain. So they've gotten to a point where there's been enough research that we now can even make it pretty prescriptive. So if you want to increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is, like you said, miracle grow for the neurons in your brain, particularly in the hippocampus, this memory center, we can say that you want to do about 40 minutes of aerobic exercise. You can do more, but the benefits begin to just, it asymptotes after about 40 minutes. So about 40 minutes of aerobic exercise, at least twice a week. Again, 3 is great too. More than 3 doesn't really benefit. So doing 7 days a week isn't going to lead to more BDNF. But 40 minutes.
Like the 80-20 principle, that extra exercise, you might get accrue a little benefit. You might live another 16 hours longer, but but it's
exactly.
I mean, it's enough already.
Exactly, and the you'll get an increase in brain-derived neurotropic factor, which means you're going to add cells to your hippocampus, new neurons, and you will feel more focused and sharper. I really try on days when I have something late in the day that's going to be important, where I know I'm going to need to think on my feet, to get aerobic exercise in the morning. Because I will be sharper in the afternoon. And on days when I can't go for a run because of the weather or I just don't have time for it, I will run up and down the stairs a few times, right? I'll call it an exercise snack. I love that language now. And that will also give me a jolt of clarity and focus. So getting aerobic exercise, it's huge. And it's something that, like you said, it's not just, good for your physique or your appearance, but it's huge for, and I should say some people then want to say, well, what about strength training? Strength training can also improve BDNF, but the results are more consistent for aerobic training than they are for strength training.
And, message to women, women are going to say, well, that's just not practical for me because I'm just so busy. I can't fit it into my schedule. But I think if you want to think about your overall productivity, if you consecrate a certain amount of time, create an exercise budget, and it will actually enhance your overall productivity to an enormous degree to make it worthwhile, the sacrifice of time that you might make for that. So, so for example, today is a super busy day for me. I'm like doing all kinds of, recording and I'm, cutting commercials and, doing show prep for this and then doing the show and, taking care of my other personal business. But I always on my Thursdays, which are very busy, why do I get up at 8:00 and work out with my personal trainer without fail? Because I know that I will perform better on those tasks. And without it, I won't.
Yes, it's such a brilliant insight. You won't need to redo them. There will be fewer communications later about needing to make adjustments because you'll get it right the first time, right? And for me, one of the things that I sometimes have knee injuries and then I can't run. I'm normally a runner. I'll do a spin class on Saturday mornings,
you need
right?
A workaround. You
need a workaround.
As you get older, you have to adapt because stuff's going to happen.
Yes.
And it's going to be like, because I have a running injury, so I wasn't able to run for months. So, okay, cycling, swimming, strength training. It's an opportunity, work on those things. We'll get back to running eventually. But, you have to be adaptable because if you just have one exercise mode, you're in trouble. But also, I think you also talk about other aspects of movement, dance, yoga. These have unique benefits too, right?
Dance is one that's really, I think, undersold. So this is one of the fascinating findings that I learned about when I was researching the book. And dance is so powerful that when people ask me, what are you going to do, Therese, in your retirement? I say, I'm going to take a dance class. Because what researchers have found in many countries, in many different dance traditions, is that if you do 6 months of dance classes, you will add volume to your hippocampus, again, that key memory center. And so this is something that's accessible to all of us, whether you want to do line dancing or you want to do square dancing or you want to do tap dancing, whatever it might be. And they think there's a trifecta, right? As why dance? Why can't I just walk with my neighbor, right, in the mornings? Why should I do a dance class? And they think that there are 3 components, right? So first of all, there's the exerence component, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're moving.
Just sheer aerobic exercise.
Sheer aerobic exercise.
It's not like more than running on a treadmill. There's more to it.
It is. So there's the aerobic component. Secondly, there's a social component because, you're even if you don't go with a partner, you're interacting with other people, you're bumping into them, you're having to laugh about it and apologize. And then the third component is there's a memory component, right? I didn't say just dance in your kitchen at night. Right. The idea is you're learning steps and you're having to recall the steps. Right. And so having to do all 3 of those things at once, having the memory component, the social component, and the aerobic component seems to be, we talked about miracle grow for your brain. This is another magic wand.
It trains the brain. Yeah. Exactly. And it creates neuroplasticity and the ability to create new circuitry in the brain. Mm-hmm. I didn't see this in your book, but something that I'm undertaking is a foreign language study. I learned German in high school and college. I spent some time in Germany, and then 50 years I didn't do anything. And now I'm back to learning German, and it's a challenging language, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And I feel like I'm doing something for my brain. Is there something? And I've done some research on multilingualism and even later life language study.
Yes.
And I noticed that in my German class, there are a couple of people who are older. And they're doing it, I think, partially social because they, want to go to Germany and maybe they have friends or relatives, but they're also doing it as kind of a brain calisthenic. So what say you about that? Is there something to it, do you think?
Yes. So any kind of new learning that you can do as you age is going to help your brain. Okay. And what's nice about doing a class or hiring a tutor is there's that social component, right? Sure. We said you ideally want to hit as many of those 3 things as possible at once. And so having a learning component and a social component is going to be better than just doing Duolingo by yourself right before you go to bed, which is what I do. I'm going to admit it. You're right. So it's better than nothing, right? Yeah. But any kind of new learning that you can do. And so some people take up chess, wanting to learn it, not just play it, not just do the things they already know how to do in chess, but to learn and extend your abilities. For others, it's language learning, and that can be nice because it can open up doors to travel, right? That perhaps, maybe you're going to get back to Germany, which is stimulating. Exactly. And then there could be other things that you decide to learn. I know some people when they retire get into woodworking or some new craft, right? Yeah, exactly. And that also can have a social component, especially if you have to go to a wood shop to work.
I have a colleague who, retired from active practice and began to restore old watches.
Oh, interesting.
And talk about, and this is a brilliant guy, absolutely brilliant guy. And he, it takes exquisite craftsmanship to restore an old watch, to source the parts. And it's, you literally have to use a magnifying glass. But, I think that's an exquisite way to train the brain and maintain your brain acuity. So
absolutely,
these are good things to do. Okay, folks, at this point, let's pause and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with you. So here goes. Listen up.
Are you concerned about your blood pressure? Join the millions worldwide who have chosen Kyolic as a natural alternative to support their heart health. Why Kyolic? It works. Over 900 published scientific articles and research studies have shown that Kyolic aged garlic extract has a positive effect on cardiovascular risk factors such as high blood pressure, cholesterol, circulation, blood sugar balance, and more. Kyolic aged garlic extract, organically grown garlic aged for up to 20 months for maximum purity and potency. Gentle on the stomach, easy to swallow capsules with no offensive garlic odor or taste. Visit Kyolic.com. That's KYOLIC.com. Learn about Kyolic Formula 109 for blood pressure, as well as Kyolic's other cardiovascular formulas. Kyolic is sold at Sprouts, Natural Grocers, Whole Foods, and natural health stores everywhere. Also online. Get Kyolic Blood Pressure Health Formula 109. It works.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. They're what make intelligent medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now back to today's guest, cognitive neuroscientist, Dr. Therese Houston. There's also meditation, breathing play a role in this, and you talk about that. It could be via the science of yoga, or it could be, some form of meditation or simple breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. You actually emphasize that in your book, because that's a way to, and not just to relax. It's not to relax. It's to actually help your brain.
Yes. So I'd love to do a demonstration, because I think all too often people think of breath work as something that they need to do where they sit in a room with their eyes closed in a lotus or half lotus position. You can, if you're listening to the podcast right now, you can do this breathing activity while you're driving, right? You don't need to turn off the world. So if we can, I'll step you through this demonstration, then we can talk about the benefits.
But I forgot my mantra. No, that's... That's a famous line from a Woody Allen movie.
Oh, that's great. Do you already have a breathing practice? I should ask Ron. Do you use something you already do?
That's, I think, one area where I'm deficient in. That I'm missing the country line dancing, and I'm missing the meditation. I think those are a couple areas I should extend my portfolio a little bit.
There you go. Well, we can do a quick demonstration, and you can see if this works for you. So, just rate in your mind, give your stress levels at the moment a number between 1 and 10, where 10 is as stressed as you could be, and 1 is no stress at all. So give yourself a number, and then I'm going to describe the breathing practice we're going to do. So in a moment, I'll have you exhale all of your air, not yet, but in a moment, I'll have you exhale all of your air, and then I'm going to have you inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 2, and then exhale for a count of 6. The exhale is usually easier than the inhale. So if you get to 3 and you can't inhale anymore, you can start just holding your breath. Then you don't need to worry about that part. And if it's hard to do the slow exhale, just breathe like you're breathing out through a straw, like pursed lips. Okay. So we'll do it twice, and everybody can follow along. All right. So exhale all of your air, and inhale 2, 3, 4, hold 2, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so how do you feel? Why would you give your stress levels another number?
I
What would you
think
give it?
I think I nudged a little bit. I think I went from about a 6 to a 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Great.
because I'm in this kind of a, activated state,
You
doing
are.
a
Yeah.
podcast as a host.
Yeah.
And I've had a busy day and
Oh,
there's actually today I had a lot of things on my mind because I'm planning a trip and, it's,
yeah. Yeah.
um,
I'd
so
be
I think I
surprised
brought
if
it down.
you
I
brought it
think I brought
down.
it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually people with just those 2 rounds bring it down by 1 or 2 points. Yeah.
I do that sometimes at night when I'm having trouble sleeping, is that I'll do that long exhale. And I
Mhm.
guess you explain it because it has something to do with the vagus nerve, and I haven't the
Yes.
vaguest idea what that's about.
Yes. So there are a couple of different things that you're doing. You actually play with your, by doing a long, slow exhale, you actually slow down your heart. Like the longer exhales will slow down your heart, longer inhales will speed your heart up. And so part of what you're
Hmm.
doing is, and when your heart slows down, it's you're sending a signal to your brain that like, hey, everything's calm here, right? Your heart wouldn't be slowing down if things weren't calm. So it sends a signal to your brain that the stress levels are reducing. So that's part of it. And also, especially if you blow out through that kind of compressed lips, you're activating the vagus nerve in your throat. And that one of the things it's doing there is sending another way to send a signal to your brain that everything's calm, everything's cool down here. So it's really interesting, as opposed to having to tell yourself everything's all right, you're using your body to send that signal to your brain. And what researchers find, we haven't talked that much about decision making, but there's another beautiful component to the exercise that we just did. If we were to do that for 2 minutes, so we did it for about 30 seconds. And in the lab, when they have people do that same cycle for a full 2 minutes. So we did 2 cycles, so it'd be about 8 cycles. You do 8 cycles of that. And what happens is people's decision making objectively improves. It's just fascinating. So if you need to make a tricky decision, you can try this activity for 2 minutes and set, the timer on your watch.
You could become more deliberative instead of the deer in the headlights reaction.
Exactly. And part of it's because you're telling your brain like, hey, it's all right. We're going to make a good decision here. It's not fight or flight. You're no longer feeling threatened. Exactly. It calms down your amygdala so your prefrontal cortex can be leading the show. And so you'll make better decisions.
I didn't notice this in your book, but it occurs to me that women are especially at risk of what could be termed shallow breathing because it's more culturally appropriate for men to just let their bellies hang out. And, that's the essence of diaphragmatic breathing. If you want to see if you're breathing from your chest or if you want to see if you're breathing from your belly, just, lie on your back and, do some breathing. And you'll see whether the breathing's coming from above, from your chest, or whether it's lower down, which is diaphragmatic breathing, which is inherently more relaxing. I think women are taught to suck in their belly and hold it in.
Yes.
Maybe there's something culturally about that.
Yeah. And even if you're not consciously trying to do that, a lot of women's fashion involves the shapewear. It's all really constricting around your belly. It's going to push your air up.
So the shallow breathing is, and you can actually put yourself into an anxiety state by, that
you can
hyperventilating.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Humor plays a role here, and you can actually help yourself by occasionally indulging in a funny video. The other night, I rewatched Blazing Saddles, and there's a wonderful Mel Brooks retrospective, an interview with Mel Brooks because he's 99 now, and so they're kind of recording his life story and his memories, and they're rebroadcasting some of his movies, which are quite funny. Humor, does that reboot the brain in some way?
Well, what's fascinating about humor, it brings us onto the topic of stress and creativity.
Neuroscientists actually study humor.
They study humor. Yes, exactly. Not all of them, but some of them do. And it's particularly important to think about humor if you are feeling stressed and you need to be creative. So we're going to talk about stress, creativity, and humor. So often, let's say your boss says, I need you to bring me 3 ideas by lunchtime, for something, right? And you've got to be creative. but there's a deadline, right? You've got 3 hours before you need to produce these 3 ideas, and you're drawing a blank, and you try Chat GPT and it doesn't give you any new ideas.
And you're knitting
right?
your brow together, and you're
Yes, right. Or a great suggestion would be, again, set a timer on your phone so you don't spend too long doing this, but then get on YouTube and find some funny videos, right? And just watch funny videos. And the trick is 7 minutes or less. So don't go more than 7 minutes, because
But don't let your boss catch you while you're doing
right there.
it. That's the catch. 'Cause what are you doing? I told you to come up with some ideas, and here you are like goofing off.
Yeah, maybe don't do this in the open office space. Exactly. Right. But what can happen is when we're highly stressed, and especially deadlines will do this to us, our ability to think creatively goes down. It inhibits something called cognitive flexibility, which is our ability to think in divergent ways, to come up with not just one idea, but like, oh, I have a completely different idea. Often when we feel stressed, we'll come up with one idea, and then they're all variations on the same idea, right? Where should we go for dinner? Well, if we're not going out for burritos, how about tacos? Oh, wait, how about, and you just kind of stay on the Mexican theme, right? If you're super stressed. However, when you have cognitive flexibility, you go in many different directions. And one of the things to access cognitive flexibility when you're stressed is to bring down the stress levels, and humor will do it. So getting yourself to laugh, like you said, maybe don't do it in front of your manager, but doing it with headphones on so nobody knows that you're watching a funny video, and then return to the creative task. The trick is you don't want to go too long, because if you like, they find 7 minutes seems to be the sweet spot. If you watch much longer than that, then that starts to make you anxious because you're not working on your task, right? And that's going to defeat the point.
Okay. So pick a scene from Young Frankenstein and just do that.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I think one of the themes of your book, and you continually reiterate that, is that age is not necessarily a limitation. There's not an inevitable decline. And there are ways of rebooting your memory, focus, and productivity, even, past midlife. So, yeah.
I think one of the things that was really reassuring to me is that one of the biggest predictors of cognitive decline is not age. I really thought that, especially when I look at my grandparents who've now passed away, but when I look at them, I thought, well, just like cognitive decline is inevitable when you get older, but it's not. Like, bigger predictors of cognitive decline are how is your sleep? How is your nutrition? How is your exercise, right? Things that you talk about all of the time. And if you are working on those, then age, you can actually be sharper at 60 or 70 than you were at 30 if you're working on those things. So, look at aerobic exercise. If you don't have a meditation or a breathing practice, think about those, because what they find is just 10 minutes of meditation, mindfulness meditation. There are different kinds of meditation, but if you look up for a 10-minute mindfulness meditation video on YouTube, 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation improves recall, your ability to recall things, by as much as 75%. So huge jump. So this can also be something to do right before you're going to walk into, like, let's say a meeting or a dinner party where you're going to meet a whole bunch of new people. Do a 10-minute mindfulness meditation in your car before you walk into that party, and you'll be able to remember names better than you normally do.
I'm terrible at. I'm just sort of flooded with impressions of people that I meet. I guess to some extent I'm kind of a highly sensitive person, so I'm just, so much is going on in the encounter that the name eludes me, and all these impressions that I'm having of the person. So I have to work on that a little bit too, because I think it's important socially to, meet a person and then acknowledge them by my name, when you see them again.
Yes.
Something else that I want to touch on is fixation focused training, which is a kind of akin to mindfulness, but it's kind of it's something that it's a little like that binaural beats thing. It's kind of a little esoteric, but
it is. This one's a weird one, but again, my editor loved it, and she does it now too. So this is coming out of research by Emily Balcetis at New York University. Basically, if you can improve your visual focus, you seem to improve your ability to pay attention in general. And so the way to kind of harness this, if you're just sitting at your computer, is to, close the different windows on your screen and bring up a word document. So you have a big white clear screen, and then put a big crosshatch, like a big plus sign in the middle of the screen. And then what you do is you set a timer, and for 2 minutes, you stare at that crosshatch. And you can blink. This isn't about like, a staring contest in terms of
Right.
like when you were a kid where you don't blink. But the idea is that after, and it could be 90 seconds, but up to 2 minutes of just staring, then close that window and get back to your task. It's like the binaural beats. You will suddenly have so much focus, just focusing visually. And people will say, oh, well, I focus on my computer all the time. But your eyes are moving, right?
Yeah.
Your focus is shifting all over the page as you read things or look
It
at
sounds
images.
like a parlor trick, but there's neuroscience to back
Yes,
this up. That
exactly.
This actually does something
Yep,
by
visual.
harnessing the visual cortex and et cetera.
Yep.
Right.
By doing, and they're still trying to figure it out, but she's done a number of different research studies where she basically finds that if you focus your visual attention, your ability to pay attention in general goes up. And so even though you maybe don't need to focus on a visual crosshatch for more than 2 minutes, your ability to now focus on your work will be improved. So this is a nice trick for anyone who's having trouble focusing on a given day. And maybe you don't have your headphones handy.
Great. I mean, we just touched the very surface of your book. There's lots more suggestions and strategies. And, if you want the latest findings in neuroscience boiled down into very practical news that you can use, suggestions, this is a good book for you, 14 Simple Ways to Improve Your Life with Brain Science. And we appreciate, your work, your translational work, because you are in the belly of the beast of, academic neuroscience. And you've taken some of the lessons of that and applied them to everyday life, which I think is really, really important. So do you also have a website, Dr. Houston?
Yes, I do. So it's theresehouston.com. And you can learn more about my other books there, as well as I have a blog there. I don't post that often, but if there's a new finding that I think, people need to know about this, it addresses some misconception, I post there. So theresehouston.com.
Okay,
Great
and
place
it's
to go.
Houston like the Hollywood director, Houston, Houston, not like
Yes.
Houston, Texas, or as we
Yes.
call it here in New York, Houston Street. Houston, Houston. So Therese is Therese, sometimes, pronounced European way, Therese, but it's Therese here. Good stuff. Thank you very much for joining us. And thanks also for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm really deeply flattered that you find it interesting and useful to you, coming to it with the background that you have. So fantastic. I hope our paths cross at one or another conference.
I hope so too. Thank you so much, Ron. And for anyone who loves these interviews, you need to check out his regular updates on science news. You provide such helpful tidbits, and then all of us can learn a little or find the research study ourselves, because there's so much great information.
We are kindred spirits in that respect, because what I try to do is I pore over these scientific papers and I say, what are the practical implications for people, and how can people use this information to improve their lives? Whether it's lifestyle choices or diet or, certain supplements that can give them an edge. So we're working, in different realms, but we're working with the same object. So fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Houston, for joining us. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything Intelligent Medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news, and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations. There were many important reasons why I started my FullScript online supplement dispensary. I wanted to offer you the same curated professional-grade supplement brands that I use, the ones I know and trust. I also wanted to ensure that they weren't counterfeit or expired. Recently, I've been hearing more and more about counterfeit or expired products purchased from online retailers. With FullScript, you can be confident your supplements are genuine and they'll arrive with optimal freshness and potency. Also, buying through FullScript offers fast, free shipping, optional refill reminders, and a highly rated mobile app. It's safe, secure, HIPAA compliant, and offers world-class support. Go to drhoffmanstore.com for more information and to start your free FullScript account. You'll get access to the supplements and features you need to help you achieve your wellness goals, including my custom targeted protocols that combine the products I recommend to address specific needs: heart health, immune support, and much more. To get started, just go to drhoffmanstore.com, drhoffmanstore.com.